the High Noon Show. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday, noon till whenever, till the news ends. That's the headlines, hot topics, current events, buzzworthy notes of interest. Those are all the things that we cover here on today's show. Today's show is not just today's show, but this show in general is designed to give you a quick little rundown of all the things that you need to know about today. All the stuff that people are buzzing about, all the stuff that you might be accosted with over the dinner table or maybe in line at a Starbucks or around the water cooler. I'm still not sure that people still do that. Do they have water cooler? Is that everybody just has their own bottle? I guess so. I guess you got to fill it up somewhere. I don't want somebody coming up to you and going, "Hey, did you hear about?" And you go, "No, please tell me. Be the most important person in my personal universe right now and tell me this piece of information that I do not know." I want to be that guy. That's who I want to be. I want to be the guy who gives you all the information, and that's what this show is designed to be. As I've said, from, we started out this month. We are on donations now for the next couple of weeks at least. We are a show that is run entirely by your kindnesses, your donations. So if you feel like you want to support the show in any way, tip the show. You can drop it in the Venmo. You can drop it in the Cash App. Just ignore the PayPal thing. It's such a pain in the ass. That PayPal thing. I can't get to, they're always like, "You don't use this enough. You've got to re-sign in. You've got to it's, oh God, this bank, we've got to contact your bank." I'm like, why? What am I, like some drug mule? What do I have? Why are you giving me? Anyway, PayPal's a pain in the ass. So if you want to support the show, that'd be great. Appreciate you. Also, what else do we have to do? We do a second stream. Here's a little something fun. We do a second stream every night at 9 p.m. 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. All these shows are Central Standard Time. I don't recognize any other time zone. It's Central. It seems to make the most sense. That's Pugs and Parker. It's myself and James Parker. James Parker, talk show host in his own right. He and I, we've been friends now for 20 plus years. He and I get together every night at 9 o'clock, Monday through Thursday. And we chop it up, whatever it is. A lot of times it's stuff that we talk about here on the noon show. Whatever the big issue is, it's more conversational. It's a conversational current event show. This isn't. This is informational. Is it? Is this information? I mean, this is really just a rundown of the things, and it's a listen. Just in the background, whatever. If I say something that you're interested in, you can stop and you can go, "Oh, he's talking about the Cowboys game last night. Yeah, that's trending. We'll get into that." All right, how does this show work? Hi, Jeff. Jeff's here. Adam's here. April's here. Taranda's here. All my people are here. All right, pull up a chair. Come on. I know. Hey, by the way, guys, we started today at 12:04. Okay, now that's pretty good for me. Or is that about average? I don't know if that's good or average. Here's what I do know. We were going to start at 12 noon, high noon. We were ready to go. The problem is that I hit click on the computer. I hit click on the video that plays before we start this stream, and it didn't fire. I'm like, man, those people who say you're always 3 minutes late, I'm gonna show them today. And I was going to be right there at noon. And then I clicked on it and nothing happened. And then I clicked on it again. Nothing happened. So I had to reboot everything. So that's why we were 4 minutes late today. But on some level, folks, try and give me credit for at least the attempt to go live directly at noon. Hi, we got April, we got Elle, we got Leslie now. Oh my God, we got people following. Come on in, pull up your chairs. We'll get everything started. For those of you new around here, and that's a problem, we're not getting new. Hey, some of you, over the last couple of days, when you see the link, to the show saying, "Hey, there's a noon show coming on," a couple of you forwarded it, retweeted it, whatever you want to call it. Thank you. Sincerely. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Adam. That's it. Nobody else. It is the least you can do to help grow this show is just when you see it, just forward it. Just come on, man. I mean, please, come on. So thank you to those of you who are savvy enough to understand how this works. The show, you guys, man, you guys are steady. Same guys, I love you. You're the founding fathers, you people. But we need to grow. The show needs to grow now. We need to start, and that has to, I got to crowdsource this action, and you people got to help. So if, you'd be cool enough, yeah, cool. It'd be cool. Cool enough to just forward it, man. When you see it, forward it. You don't even have to say anything. Adam says nice things. I appreciate that from Adam. Always goes, I like this show. You should too. Love that, but not necessary. Just forward it. That's all. Did you forward it today? No, you didn't, because I didn't see any. I didn't see any today. Nobody. I mean, what is this? Was this a secret little society that we've got here? Me and, you folks in the chat room. What, you don't want to grow? You don't want new people to come in? I mean, I get that on some level, but it ain't helping this show. It ain't helping. So thank you. Thank you, April. Byron's here. Byron's always here. Love Byron. I'm telling you, man, if there is a founding father of the chat room, it's got to be a combination of Byron and Jeff. Both Jeffs. We got multiple Jeffs. We're big with Jeffs and Leslies around here. A lot of Leslies, a lot of Jeffs. That's okay. I'm not complaining. If I could get every Jeff in the world listening, I think we'd have a pretty successful show. So we're well on our way to accomplishing that. All right, how does the show work if you're new? This is what I was saying. Okay, so the show is about today. It could be called the Today Show, except somebody already called it that. Here's what we do. We try and give you everything about this particular day, okay? And we don't do weather. We're not going to give you weather. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we go through the history of today first. First, I tell you some of the interesting things that occurred on this day in the past. Then we talk about some of the people who were born unto this world on this day. Celebrate their accomplishments, pearl clutch some of their lesser moments. And then we go into the deaths. We talk about people who have passed on this day. And we got some big ones who passed on today. Well, at least for a guy like me, a TV guy. A lot of big TV deaths today. I mean, big ones. I mean, 3 really big ones at least. All right, so after we do that, after we do the history, after we do the births, and after we do the deaths, then and only then do I feel that we have now covered what today has meant throughout history, and we can only then, with a clear conscience, move forward and talk about what today is. Is that the deal? That's the deal. All right, let's do it. Let's get it started. It is high noon for the 23rd. Hold on, I need a drink. Hold on, I got to take a couple of deep breaths, because guess what I feel coming on? Say it with me. Hiccups. Haven't had hiccups in weeks, but now, because I sat down here, I'm about to have hiccups. Let's see if we can fix that with a little hot. It's a hot coffee. All right, we're going to muscle through. It is the 23rd day of January. That means the 23rd day of the year. See, because it's January, it's still easy to do that, because it's just whatever the day is. 23rd day of the year. There are 342 days remaining until the end of the year. So as we like to say around here, with tongue firmly planted in cheek, get them New Year's Eve plans started. 1556 on this day. Oh, God, you guys, I only mention this. I normally wouldn't mention this, but I mentioned this because I was like, what? What? Are you kidding me? I have questions. We'll get to why I have questions. On this day in 1556, the deadliest earthquake in history. The Shanxi earthquake hits Shanxi province in China. The death toll may have been as high as an earthquake death toll. What are you thinking? Worst one in history? 10,000? Something like that? Something like 15,000? Oh my God, 15. 830,000 people are believed to have died in this earthquake that struck Shanxi province in 1556. 830. All right, so I said I have some questions. One, what were birth records like back then? How do they even know, right? Big number, shocking number. Got to mention here, and I'm sure that's what the whole thing was. Hey, if we make the number high enough, maybe they'll mention it on high noon. And they did. Well played, sir. On this day in 1849, Elizabeth Blackwell is awarded her MD. 1849. She became the first female doctor in the United States. Lizzie Blackwell, on this day in 1849, became the first female doctor. Trying to think of how rough. I mean, did she have any business? Was there anybody woman willing to go to a female doctor in 1849? I don't know. What next? Female pilots? Now it's regular. Now there's nothing quite like a hot doctor. I had a hot doctor. Boy, when I was in the hospital, when I injured my heart all those years back, I had this hot attending physician. Oh God, she was English. She had an English accent and she was beautiful and she was a doctor. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, well, this is a reason to live. Never saw her again, but that was cool. She just made her rounds and she's like, how you feeling? I'm like, I'm fine. I was like, wow, hot English. They let you become doctors in England, huh? Okay, look at that. 1849, Elizabeth Blackwell, the first hot doctor born into, I don't even know if she was hot. Is there a picture of her? How would I even tell? You know what I mean? When you look at pictures of people from 1849, you're like, is that hot for 1849? Nah, she's not hot. She looks like Burgess Meredith. So there you go. Burgess, if that's hot to you, there you go. Elizabeth Blackwell. She looks like Burgess Meredith. On this day in 1941, Charles Lindbergh, American hero, Charles Lindbergh. Oh, that Lindy. Oh, we loved Lindy. He was the best. Until this day in 1941, when he went in front of Congress and said, hey, why don't we just join Hitler? Yeah, that's what he did. Oh, listen to the damn dog. The dog is in the backyard. There's some Highland Park City workers out back, and they're doing some stuff in the greenway that runs between this block and the next block. And the dog, can you hear? That's going to be going on. And it's extra tricky because it's over in a corner of the yard where normally I have to pause the show to let the dog in for barking. This is going to take a little bit longer because I got to get the leash and I got to go all the way down. Otherwise, if I don't take the leash, she's going to know what I'm doing and she's going to run away. I'm chasing her. I'll be like, guys, hold on. I got to go get the dog. And we'll pause. And then like 30 minutes later, I'll come back in all red-faced, sweaty. I couldn't catch her. She was running around. It's going to be awful. Maybe I should just let the police come today. Maybe I should just let that mean old not doctor lady. There's a lady who lives right across the greenway. She's married to a doctor. She's old and she's mean and she doesn't like that the dog barks. Even though there's like a dozen other dogs in this neighborhood who bark, she just doesn't like ours. I can't blame her. I don't like when our dog barks either, but she calls the cops. So I'm going to have to go out and get her, I think, because this is not going to be sustainable for a full possible 2-hour show. All right, we're going to motor through anyway. We're going to try and do it. Yeah, Lindbergh was a Nazi dude. He liked Hitler. He was like, me and Henry Ford and Walt Disney were just talking about the Jew problem and maybe, yeah. A lot of people were Hitler sympathizers, especially back in 1941. On this day in 1957, American inventor Walter Frederick Morrison sells the rights to his flying disc to the Wham-O toy company. They called it, say it with me, the Frisbee. That's right, on this day, the Frisbee. Man, I look back. Now, granted, I'm looking back through the lens of today, but I look back at stuff that people just made millions off of, and I think, was it just easier back then? A Frisbee? Really? So nobody had ever thought of a Frisbee. Nobody ever threw a plate across a room and went, hey, that kind of flies in an interesting way. We should maybe make that plastic and sell it to children. Nobody. Hula hoop. Well, the hula hoop was an absolute phenomenon. It was everybody. That guy who made the hula hoop made, I don't know how much he made. Probably just sold it outright. Same with the Wham-O guy. He probably just sold this Walter Frederick Morrison. He probably just sold it to Wham-O for like a bag of beans. And then suddenly the Frisbee became the sporting good of choice for stoners everywhere. Can you throw a Frisbee? Man, I have difficulty throwing a Frisbee. I've avoided Frisbee games almost my entire life because when I was very young, I realized I have difficulty throwing a Frisbee. And this has kind of been what I've done my whole life with things. If I'm not immediately good at something, or if I think that, oh God, okay, this is going to take a while, I'll just avoid it my whole life. I've avoided Frisbee throwing my whole life. I can't. I don't know. I can't. What is it, a flip? I can kind of do it now. Like if I had to, I could kind of do it, but I never practiced, I never, like at 15, people would be like, hey, let's throw the Frisbee around. I'd be like, nope. Anybody want to play catch? I got my glove. You know, that was all right. Not a frisbee guy. But it was on this day that American inventor Walter Frederick Morrison sells the rights to his flying disc to Whammo. On this day in 1986, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducts its first class of members. Okay, so this is the first. Are you ready? You want to hear who went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame on the first class, what would they call it? The inaugural class of Rock and Roll Hall of Famers? Let's see here. We got Little Richard. See the bop, wop, bop-a-loo bop guy? I don't know. Is that him? Is that bop, bop-a-woo? Is that him? Is that Little Richard? Chuck Berry. Little Richard. Can we go back to Little Richard for a second? You ever seen old stuff of him? He was kind of trans before trans was a thing, Little Richard. He would make up and all that kind of stuff. Very, very flamboyant for 1955 or whenever the hell that was. All right, Little Richard went in. Chuck Berry went in. Chuck Berry liked to watch women take duties. He did. That was a kink of Chuck Berry. He had Chuck Berry had a restaurant in St. Louis, and he installed cameras in the toilets, and he got caught for watching videotapes of. I don't know if he got caught watching them, but I think they found him at his house. So it was like Chuck Berry. I don't know. So there you go. Chuck Berry, Little Richard, James Brown. James Brown. What can I say about James Brown? James Brown. What can you say about James Brown? Ray Charles. He went in. Sam Cooke went in. Fats Domino went in. The Everly Brothers went in. Buddy Holly went in. Jerry Lee Lewis went in. And of course, couldn't be a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in an inaugural class without inducting, ladies and gentlemen, Elvis Presley also went in. So the inaugural class, Little Richard, Chuck Berry, James Brown, Ray Charles, Sam Cooke, Fats Domino, the Everly Brothers, Buddy Holly, Jerry Lee Lewis, and Elvis Aaron Presley. Well, let's see, on this day in 2002, U.S. journalist... Oh, God, okay. Pacing. Sometimes I just roll into the next one, and then it's like, on this day, 57 children were slaughtered, and it's like, man, my tone is just not right. Reset. On this day in 2002, U.S. journalist Daniel Pearl is kidnapped in Karachi, Pakistan, and subsequently murdered. Wasn't that the one? Didn't they film that? Wasn't that like one of the videos that went viral? You want to see a guy get his head cut off? And I'm like, no, I don't. I've never seen it. Never seen it, won't see it, have no need. That energy doesn't need to be in my life. Do I know that they cut people's heads off? Yeah. Does it serve me in any way, shape, or form to see that, to have that blackness in my existence? No, I don't need to see that. And it goes further than that with me. I think when I was younger, I was very, I'd be like, yeah, show it to me. But now I can't. I'm so put off by that stuff that, I'll give you an example. So I just binged watched the new season of Vikings Valhalla. Very good, by the way. I mean, I think you have to be into Viking sagas to really enjoy the series, but whatever, it's okay. I really enjoy the series. There's some violent stuff in there, man. So there was a girl, there was like an English girl. She was like a handmaiden to the queen, and she was accused of doing something, and she didn't do it. She did not do it. She was told the queen was totally wrong, and they tortured this woman to get information. I couldn't watch any of that. I fast forward through it. That's not my thing. I don't need that darkness in my life. Do I know that stuff happened? Yeah. Do I need to see it? No. And I certainly don't need to see it dramatically depicted by actors. No, thank you. No, thank you. All right. The dog is killing me here, folks. The dog is killing me. Can you hear her? Can you hear her out there? At some point, it's going to reach the breaking. I'm going to have to go get her. I knew when I let her out like 15 minutes before the show started because she wanted to go. I'm going to kill that dog. Seriously. I don't think there's anybody else at the house, so I might have to go get her. We'll keep going. Adam says, I used to love awkward humor, and man, I cringe too much watching it now. No, not humor. Awkward, dark, black, gross, humor, shock humor. I can still do humor. I can't do bad humor. Like if it's all of those things and there's nothing that I find even intriguing about it. But humor is always a line of demarcation for me. If it's humor and it's done humorously, like you can't just do bad stuff and go, I was kidding. Like that's not humor. You know what I mean? It's I don't know. I can still do dark. I love dark humor. I love dark, mean humor because it's humor. And we got to get this stuff out of us somehow. We're human beings. We have all of this stuff, and humor seems the most innocuous way to do it. But I just don't like. I don't like. I don't like people. I don't want to see anybody get stabbed. You know what I can do? I can watch somebody get punched. That I can do because I've been punched, right? I've been punched. I've been knocked out. I've had all of that stuff happen to me. So that I can handle. But like somebody, and now you're chained to a table and I'm going to begin to cut your body parts up. No, thank you. And by the way, there's this whole new form of a genre, really, of filmmaking. Body horror. Are you guys familiar with body horror? No, thank you. Can't handle that. Not even slightly interested in that. I was just reading an article about some new body horror film that people are just absolutely up in arms about. Stars Alexander Skarsgård. You know that guy? Alexander Skarsgård. I like him. I like Alexander Skarsgård. I can't say his name though. He was in True Blood. He played Eric Northman. You know the I don't know, one of the main vampires, Eric Northman. He's good. He's in this new movie made by not his, but David Cronenberg. Remember the filmmaker David Cronenberg? His son is now making really effed up movies, just like his dad used to make really effed up movies. And this movie is about people who, when they commit crimes, they have the option to get cloned. And then their clone can stand trial, or their clone can be tortured or executed for the crimes. It's an interesting premise because it shows how it allows people to just do whatever the hell they want without any repercussions, because then they just pay to have a clone executed instead of them. All right. But I want to see it because the descriptions of like the way clones are tortured in this, no thank you. I got to get the dog. I'm sorry. I got to go get the dog. This is not going to happen for the entire show. So we'll be right back. Sit there, talk amongst yourselves. Maybe donate to the show at this time. Maybe. I don't know. You do you. Hi, come here, baby. You go outside. Go for a walk. Come on. Go for a walk. Get in there. Get in there. Oh, that was rough. Oh my God. Yeah. Hold on, folks. Get out of here. You go lay down. I'm so mad at you right now. All right. Go lay down. Oh my God. I'm exhausted. I literally did. I had to chase her around the yard in flip-flops. And Go lay down. You are not my friend. Go lay down. You are not my friend right now. Yeah, you should look upset. Down. I don't even want to give you a good girl for listening. I don't, because you're not. You're a bad girl. You are a bad girl. She looks so sad. She's just looking at me. Okay, I'm gonna catch my breath. Let's do some birthdays. Let's move on to some people who've been. What's Jeff saying? Jeff Ballard says, let's see what this is. Jeff says, I've been on some cartel websites that show videos of decapitations. Man, those videos will mess you up. Yeah, so what is the draw? Like, I agree. They will mess you up, man. I don't need that. I don't need to be in my darkest moments when I'm laying in bed trying to fall asleep and then suddenly a memory of that. That's not. I don't know. I mean, I suppose there's a curiosity, right? Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not into it. Not for me, man. Appreciate you though, but I cannot do that. Let's do some birthdays. Born on this day in 1737, John Hancock, American general, politician, first governor of Massachusetts, inventor of the signature. I'll have you know, John Hancock. Why doesn't it say founding father? Was he a founding father? Right? Like, what are the founding fathers, right? I had this conversation with my son, my 13-year-old son. Like, where do you draw the line? You know what I mean? Like, okay, so it's like Adams, Washington, Franklin, Hancock. All right, Hancock's a founding father. There you go. I've decided for history that John Hancock is absolutely a founding father. Born on this day in 1898, Randolph Scott. Now, do you know who Randolph Scott is? No, of course you don't. He was like a B-list. Not so far as D-list. He was an actor. He was an actor in the 50s. He was a handsome man actor in the 50s and 40s and all that. Why do I mention him? Because he was Cary Grant's gay lover for like 20 years. They lived together. They were just a couple of swinging bachelors. No. I mean, imagine if that was the deal today. So here was the situation. So Cary Grant, who was like the biggest movie star in the world and one of the highest paid film stars of the era, he lived in a house with a roommate, and his roommate was Randolph Scott, the actor Randolph Scott, who also could have afforded to live on his own. Both of these people. Cary Grant didn't need a roommate, okay? And Cary Grant was never married. Well, he married Betty Hutton. Didn't he marry Betty Hutton? Cary Grant was married a couple of times, briefly, because actually towards the end of his life, I think he did get married. He married Diane Cannon, all that kind of stuff. But those were all I've read. I love Cary Grant. Cary Grant's one of my favorite actors of all time. I don't think there's a more charismatic actor in the history of film than Cary Grant. When that guy popped on a screen, whether it was his glint, his smile, his little mischievous way. I mean, he was a fun actor, but he was a gay man. And also very big into LSD. Very big. Like starting in the late 50s, he started doing LSD therapy, and he used to have LSD parties at his Hollywood home. Can you imagine tripping with Bob Hope? Because that's basically, what was happening. I don't know that Bob ever, but what I'm saying is, who was Cary Grant hanging around with doing acid at his acid parties in 1957? It wasn't like he had Clapton over, no, he had like Gregory Peck tripping out, Anyway, Cary Grant was probably gay. He just never said anything about it. And Randolph Scott was his the love of his life, And they had to live in anyway. Randolph Scott, they had to live in secret because Randolph Scott, born on this day in 1898, born on this day in 1919. Now this we just talked about him. What was it, 10 days ago? 10 days ago, we celebrated his birthday, and I told you all about the greatness of Ernie Kovacs. Ernie Kovacs was an early television pioneer. He had a TV show in the 1950s, and stuff that he did on his TV shows in the 1950s, people didn't appreciate because TV was brand new, right? He was doing tricks with the cameras, and he was using different lenses, and he was all about like the visual meaning of what could you show people, and what are interesting ways to show them. and he did all that stuff. And he had a show that was it was popular. It probably stayed. I didn't have a whole lot of watchers. Like it wasn't a hit show or anything like that. But it was on for a while. It aired for a number of years. I think just because there were no other shows. But even if there were other shows, history tells us that that's the one we should have been paying attention to, because that was the show that sort of influenced everybody, especially comedy creators for television. This Ernie Kovacs was an absolute genius. Here, I'll give you a little blurb from his bio here. Ernie Kovacs was an American comedian, actor, innovator, and writer. Kovacs' visually experimental and often spontaneous comedic style influenced numerous television comedy programs for years after his death. Kovacs has been credited as an influence by many individuals and shows, including Johnny Carson, Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, Saturday Night Live, Monty Python's Flying Circus, Jim Henson, Max Headroom, Chevy Chase, Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Kimmel, Captain Kangaroo, Sesame Street, The Electric Company, Pee-wee's Playhouse, The Muppet Show, Dave Garroway, Andy Kaufman, You Can't Do That on Television, Mystery Science Theater 3000, Uncle Floyd, among many others. Chevy Chase even thanked Kovacs during his acceptance speech for his Emmy Award for Saturday Night Live. There you go, Kovacs. What was he most famous for? Being married to Edie Adams. She was kind of a babe. Yeah. He died? He died really young. I want to say it was a car accident. I think he died in a car accident in like 1962. But what that guy could have done with the brand new medium of television, building upon what it was that he had created in the late 50s. That's one of those guys that you go, what could have been? Born on this day in 1950, Richard Dean Anderson, MacGyver. Remember MacGyver? That's pretty much all he's known for. American actor, producer, and composer. Although I come from the 80s, I was never a MacGyver guy. Never watched MacGyver. I always thought it seemed stupid. I mean, even at like 10 years old, I'm like, this looks dumb. What? No, I don't want to watch this. So I never watched it. All my friends did. Did you say MacGyver? I'm like, no, I was watching Lou Grant because I was a weird kid. And Monday nights were for Lou Grant. What was the other one? Lou Grant. My Monday night TV in my formative years was CBS. It was Lou Grant and what was the other one? What was the other one with Pernell Roberts? Remember that one? What was the hospital show with Gonzo Gates? Remember that one? What was that show called? I just had it. I don't know what it's called. Anyway, those were my shows on Monday nights. Although I want to say Hardcastle and McCormick was also a Monday night ABC show. I watched that. I liked Hardcastle and McCormick. I didn't like Trapper John. Thank you, Al. Trapper John, MD. 8 o'clock, Lou Grant. Straight into Trapper John, MD. Because I was the weirdest 9-year-old you ever met. I guess the Paper Chase on PBS wasn't on. Yeah, I was weird. I was a weird little kid. And I liked adult things. I liked grown-up things. And I think maybe it's because I was an only child. I wasn't stunted by being around a brother who would make me dumb. I think I just kind of hung out with grown-ups. So I don't know. I liked Trapper John. Whatever. Anyway, Richard Dean Anderson. Nothing against him. I just never watched MacGyver. Wasn't my thing. Born on this day in 1964, Mariska Hargitay, American actress and producer. She's on CSI. No. Law and Order. She's I do make a slight distinction that one is CBS and one is NBC, but the Law and Order franchise and the CSI franchise, I've never seen any of them. I've never watched any of the CSIs. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think because when the CSIs and the Law and Order spinoffs started airing, I think I had already sworn off network TV. I think I was like, are you kidding me? HBO, Showtime, those are the real shows. FX, those are the good shows. Not the networks. I was a snob. I watched the original Law and Order. And by original, I mean the first 10 years of Law and Order, because, whether it was Lenny Briscoe or because they changed cast a lot on Law and Order. But I loved Law and Order. I still love Law and Order. I will still watch old 90s episodes of Law and Order. I just never got into like Special Victims Unit or anything. But Mariska Hargitay, born on this day in 1964. Her mom was Jane Mansfield, and her dad was Mickey Hargitay. Who's Mickey Hargitay? Mickey Hargitay was one of the first, and I won't say the first because we've got somebody else that we've got to talk about. Mickey Hargitay was one of the first bodybuilders. I think he was like a very early Mr. Universe or whatever. Anyway, Mickey Hargitay married Jane Mansfield, who was like the Dollar Tree version of Marilyn Monroe. She was like a lesser, but she looked like Marilyn Monroe, so good for Mickey. But, you know, not exactly Marilyn Monroe. She died in a car accident. She got her head cut off. Ooh. Yeah, she got decapitated. Anyway, that's Mariska Hargitay's mom and dad. Let's see. Who else is celebrating a birthday today? Oh, 10 years younger. Look at us, 10 years younger than Mariska Hargitay, celebrating a birthday. Born on this day in 1974, Tiffany Amber Thiessen. Now, what was she from? Was she from Saved by the Bell? I think it was. Here's another full disclosure. I never watched Saved by the Bell. I'm too old. I was too old for Saved by the Bell. When Saved by the Bell first started, I was like 22, 23, and that was a show for like 15 and 16-year-olds, so I never watched it. Like, by the time Saved by the Bell started, I believe it was one of those late Saturday morning shows. I think that's where it first aired. Like, you Saved by the Bell at 11 o'clock a.m. every whatever. And, you know, when that show started, I was not waking up before 1 p.m. on Saturdays. I was just at a stage in my life where I was missing everything that happened in the world before, say, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. However, if it was happening between midnight and 5 a.m., I was probably right there front and center. All right, happy birthday to you, Tiffany Amber Thiessen. I know she was a babe. I know she was hot. I know that was a thing. Like, I knew all the girls from Saved by the Bell were hot, but that wasn't enough of a motivator for a 23-year-old me to sit and watch the damn thing. It's one of those things. Just one of those things that separate me from people younger. All right, let's get into some deaths. Some people died on this day. Let's talk about some of the people who've passed away before we get into today's trending topics and all that stuff. Dead on this day. I want to spend a little minute on this because, interestingly enough, I just last night got into a conversation about this guy. Terry Kath. Terry Kath died on this day in 1978. Now, who's Terry Kath? He's an American guitarist and songwriter, arranger, producer. He was a brilliant, brilliant guy. More than that, he was a brilliant guy who died in a really stupid way. He was in the moment considered one of the greatest guitar players alive. And then after he died, people seem to forget that Terry Kath was such an amazing guitar player. And the band that he fronted after he died just became so lame. Terry Kath was the original guitar player and founding member and leader, the boss of the group Chicago. Chicago has had hits. I don't know. Are they still like cranking out bad songs? I don't know, maybe. But before Terry Kath died, exiting the band. Oh, yeah? Is that how he left the band? Yeah, he left the band because he died. Peter Cetera took over. Took over as like the lead guy. And Peter Cetera sucks, man. That dude, that guy, all they did was fight too. Within the band Chicago, all they did was fight because Peter Cetera was really a side guy who started singing more and more of the songs. And Peter Cetera wanted to take the band Chicago into the direction that they eventually went in, which is glorified wedding band, which is just so... Ugh. Terry Kath was a rocker. Terry Kath wanted a wall of sound type. He had the big horn section. He was a shredder on the guitar. Terry Kath died on this day in 1978 playing Russian roulette. Very, very dumb way to die. He was having a party. They were doing all kinds of drugs, and he pulled out a gun and he said, "Hey, let's play Russian roulette." He spun the chamber, put it to his head, and Terry Kath died. That's how Terry Kath died, and that's what ruined the band Chicago, who until then had been a really cool band. They'd been doing really cool, really innovative, progressive stuff. I want to play a little something for you. I want to play you some Terry Kath because I don't think people realize exactly how amazing Terry Kath was as a guitar player. I'll tell you someone who did realize how amazing he was as a guitar player. that would be Jimi Hendrix. Jimi Hendrix called Terry Kath the best guitar player he had ever seen and said that Terry was a better guitar player than he was, which is how the band Chicago got their break. Jimi Hendrix happened to catch a club show that the band Chicago, early incarnation of the band Chicago, was doing. They were called CTA at the time. They weren't even called Chicago. And Jimi Hendrix went backstage and he said, "You've got a horn section that is as good as any in R&B soul music. You've got songs that are absolute pop hits, and you've got a guitar player who's better than me. Will you be my opening act?" And that's how the band Chicago rose to prominence. Jimi Hendrix said, "Yeah, I want to hang out with you guys. You guys are amazing." So here, I want to play this for you. This is some video back in the prime of Terry Kath playing guitar. Okay, let me show you that. Just marvel at this guy. Marvel at how great this guy, and then try and make that mesh with what your impression of the band Chicago is, because my impression of the band Chicago is lame as hell, right? Except that I know about this stuff. I remember this stuff. All right, so this is Terry right here, and we're gonna play the opening. And then I'm going to fast forward to his guitar solo, which Guitar Magazine ranked the 5th greatest guitar solo ever. Okay? Are you ready? Here you go. From the early. His riffs were so cool. But then he could play. Well, you'll see. Terry Kath, dead on this day, 1978, shot himself in the head playing Russian roulette at a party he was throwing. I think he's waiting for the drummer to get his shit together. All right, here you go. All right, so we all know this song. All right, so now I'm going to go to the solo that Guitar Magazine said was the 5th greatest solo of all time. Watch him play. and it goes on. So the next time you think of the band Chicago being lame the way I do, and trust me, they got a lot of lame stuff. Just remember that had that guy not blown his head off, Terry Kath, the most underrated rock and roll guitar player of all time. There you go. Dead on this day in 1978. Dead on this day in 2003. Give me a break. That's right. Nell Carter. Well, I never saw that one coming. Nell Carter died on this day in 2003. She was Nell. She was Nell. She was one of those actresses who got to play a role where, it makes me think that maybe, actually, that's not true. I shouldn't say that about Nell Carter as Nell in Give Me a Break. By the way, I watched Give Me a Break. I like Give Me a Break. I like that show. That show was good. She was funny. Tony Tony Danza in Taxi was named Tony because the producers didn't think that he wasn't an actor at the time. He was just like brand new and he would come from something else. I think Tony Danza was a boxer and a doorman, and they went, hey, he might be good to play a New York cab driver. So they just named his character Tony so he wouldn't get confused. At least that's the Hollywood rumor. I don't know if that's the case with Nell Carter. Nell Carter died on this day in 2003. Dead on this day. Now, I talked about this being a day where we had some major television icons die. Right? Not Ernie Kovacs. We celebrated his birthday. Ernie Kovacs was born on this day. But here's the first of the television icons who died on this day. In 2004, Bob Keeshan. That's right. Captain Kangaroo. Captain Kangaroo died on this day. A sad day for generations of young folk, of which I am not one of them. Captain Kangaroo wasn't my thing. I never watched Captain Kangaroo. I mean, I'm familiar with it because, you only had 3 channels, and at some point you just go as, a 7-year-old, and you'd find yourself with some flamboyantly dressed guy talking to a hand puppet, and you'd be like, okay, this is interesting as you eat your cereal. But it never held me. I never really got into that. And here's why. I think we had a guy when I was growing up who was like a local version of a Captain Kangaroo show every morning. His name was Ray Rayner. And I was a Ray Rayner guy, man. You kidding me? I would watch that. So I recognize the importance of Bob Keeshan, and I recognize the importance in the impact that Captain Kangaroo made. But I was never really a viewer. I was never really a big Captain Kangaroo guy. No, Ray Rayner. I'm a Ray Rayner guy. Who did y'all have in Dallas? In Dallas, you had that Mr. Butthole Surfer guy. What's his name? I don't know what his name was. I forgot. Mr. Peppermint? Was that the guy you had here? So maybe in Dallas. I think the big cities that were lucky enough to have local children's programming early in the morning, maybe they don't have the affection for the national guys like Captain Kangaroo. But yeah, here Dallas had Mr. Peppermint. Chicago had Ray Rayner. All right. I think that was his real name too, Ray Rayner. Chicago also had Bozo, but Bozo then went national and everybody had Bozo. But I was never really a Bozo guy either. I was a Ray Rayner guy. I liked Bozo when Ray Rayner was on Bozo. Ray Rayner would how do we do a tribute to Bob Keeshan and I just start waxing poetic about my memories of Ray Rayner? I don't know. We'll move on. But there you go. That's one major television icon who passed away on this day. He died in 2004. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2005 on this day, Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson passed away. Captain Kangaroo and Johnny Carson died on the exact same day. Different years, but same day. Johnny Carson, American talk show host, television personality, and producer. I wonder about Johnny. I wonder if he'll be remembered. Now, I know that's hard to say about Johnny Carson because there's a whole lot of us alive who remember how powerful he was, how important he was, how he was the guy. Like there was everybody, like maybe in the 70s, Archie Bunker was big, Fonzie had his Johnny Carson. Johnny Carson was above all of them. Johnny Carson was the biggest television star in America for 30 years, maybe. Died on this day in 2005. It was probably about a year ago or so. I found this great audiobook on YouTube. It was a book about the life of Johnny Carson, and I started going to sleep at night listening to this audiobook on Johnny Carson. Man, that he was not. I mean, he had an image, you know. He was like Johnny Carson. Everybody loves Johnny Carson. He's from Nebraska. He's Midwestern. He's totally not offensive. That dude was offensive in his real life, Johnny Carson. And this wasn't a book that was written in the Me Too movement, right? This wasn't a book that was written. This is probably a book that was written 20 years ago. And it just talked about what? First of all, here's what people don't know. Or maybe they do. Maybe they do. I shouldn't say that they don't. Johnny Carson was a bad drunk. Johnny Carson used to get DUIs all the time. He had like 7 DUIs in his life. And one time he actually had to come out on the Tonight Show and apologize for it. Because in the 1960s and 70s, DUIs weren't a big deal. They weren't. Everybody drove drunk. And if you listen to my 9 p.m. Central Time partner, Pugs and Parker partner, he'll tell you that everybody still drives drunk. I think that's way less than it used to be. But okay, we'll let him have his little hill to die on. Johnny Carson got DUIs all the time. People used to just drive him home. You know who else? You know who else was like that? Harry Carey. Yeah, Harry Carey. He used to get DUIs all the time. They just drive him home. But then Johnny got a DUI in the 80s when the notion started to change. So Johnny had to apologize for that. He came out. I remember that. You can probably find that on YouTube. Johnny Carson apologizes for his DUI. David Letterman famously in a sit-down interview with Oprah Winfrey, I think it was with Oprah. And it wasn't on the Oprah show, but it was like a special, like after Oprah had left the Oprah show. It was like a special thing. And it was at Ball State University, which is David Letterman's alma mater. So Oprah sat down with him there, and he told a story about how like he adored Johnny Carson. Obviously, I think we all know this. Johnny Carson was David Letterman's hero. And David Letterman told a story about how he spent the last 10 years of Johnny's life avoiding having dinner with Johnny Carson, because when you would have dinner with Johnny Carson would get shit-faced drunk. And then David Letterman's own words, Johnny was a mean drunk. Johnny was mean. He was drunk all the time. I mean, that's where Ed McMahon came from. Ed McMahon has a career because in the early days of the Tonight Show, Johnny Carson would finish the show live in New York when they were in New York. He would finish the show and then he'd go out carousing. And one time he got the shit kicked out of him. Johnny got into a brawl because he was an asshole. Somebody like messed him up. And he showed up and he couldn't do the show for 2 days because he had bruises and black eyes and all this kind of stuff. So the producers of the show hired Ed McMahon, who was a big giant. Ed McMahon was a doorman, a bouncer in Manhattan. And he was a big former Marine and all this stuff. They hired Ed McMahon to be with Johnny at all times so that this never happened again. So that if Johnny in 1962 in New York City decided that, he was going to say something to somebody and that person was probably going to clean his clock, Ed McMahon would be able to step in. That's Ed McMahon's career. Ed McMahon, because he was the big burly Marine who could calm the situation down. And if he couldn't calm the situation down, nobody wanted to tangle ass with big Ed McMahon because he was a big dude back then. I mean, we know him as like the lovable old guy, but he was kind of a badass. Tough guy, anyway. Johnny Carson, there you go. So that's two of the big television icons who died on this day. Who's going to be 3? I don't know. Sit tight. Because first we're going to talk about Jack LaLanne. I mentioned Mickey Hargitay when we were talking about Mariska Hargitay's birthday being today. Mickey Hargitay is Mariska's dad. Mickey, I said he's like the original bodybuilder guy, except he really wasn't. The original bodybuilder guy died on this day in 2011. Jack LaLanne. Look at that. Jack LaLanne was the first like health and fitness dude to appear on TV. He lived 97 years. Ain't bad. Okay. So there you go. That's a testament to clean living, I guess. But Jack LaLanne used to show up on like early, like 1950s and 60s morning shows, like the early incarnations of the Today Show or whatever. And he would be like, all right, let's do calisthenics. And he'd do that. And when you see Jack LaLanne, he was portrayed in the eyes of the people back then. He was the way we look at, Batista today or, Schwarzenegger in the 90s. That dude is huge. And then you see him, you like see him from the 1950s. and he looks like your gym coach. Nothing more. He just looks like a dude who's in shape, but he's not like that dude's jacked. That dude, he's totally yoked. That's by today's standards. Jack LaLanne was like a regular guy who's in shape. That's it. But back then it was like, look at everybody just had butter guts back then. Everybody was just a little bit paunchy. Nobody jogged. Everybody chain smoked. Yeah, so I guess, when framed up against that backdrop, he probably did look like some sort of triathlete. And he lived 97 years. So let's not make fun of him. The dude, although I don't want to live 97 years. We've been over this. I'd like to get to 80. I think 80's good. I just don't know. Man, I'm in my 50s, and I don't understand half of what I see now. I can only imagine what it's going to be like when I'm 80, looking at the world. I'm going to try. I mean, I think even at 80, I'll be like, oh, is this what the kids are saying? All right, guess you got to change what I'm saying. Whatever. I'm always going to try because I recognize that, progress is a good thing and we evolve and societies change. I'm not just going to push back against it because it's not what my generation did. That's the surest sign that you're getting old. But I don't want to live to be 97. I don't care, even if I'm healthy. Dead on this day in 2015. Now, I got to do this because I'm a classy guy. Now, everyone knows that I absolutely despise the Chicago Cubs. I am a Chicago White Sox devotee. This is one of my hats right there. The White Sox are my team, and because the White Sox are my team, I absolutely hate the Chicago Cubs. You know what? I've kind of evolved on this over the years. I don't think because we're in the era of free agency where, I might have to root for a Chicago Cub, and I have. I've found myself rooting for Cubs who got traded to my team. I don't think I hate the Cubs. I think it's the Cub fan that I really hate. I think kind of like a Grateful Dead thing with me. I don't hate the Grateful Dead. I really don't. I may have told you 25, 30 years ago, I'd been like, I hate the Grateful Dead. Truth of the matter is, I don't hate the Grateful Dead. They got some music that's fine. I just don't like Dead fans, right? And I was like, kind of ruined it for me. That's how I feel about the Cubs. So I feel that I have to wish a very maudlin goodbye to Mr. Cub, Ernie Banks, ladies and gentlemen. Ernie Banks died on this day in 2015. Mr. Cub, the most iconic Chicago Cub in history. Kyle Schwarber! Shut up. Ernie Banks. Because I'm a classy guy. I will doff my cap to one Ernie Banks, even though he played for a team that I despise. Nah, I don't despise the team. I despise the fans. Here we go. Last one, 2021. Okay, so we already talked about Bob Keeshan dying in this day. Captain Kangaroo died on this day. Johnny Carson died on this day. Also, the holy trinity of death on this day, television icons. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry King. Larry King passed away on this day. Larry King's a real POS, right? Larry King. There's stories out there about Larry King. I don't want to go into it. Today's the day he died, but Larry King, not what you'd call a good dude. You just kind of petty and vindictive and short-sighted. Look, I always say Larry King had a son whose name was Larry King Jr., who grew up blocks away from Larry King while Larry King was a famous radio host in Miami. So Larry King's on billboards. Larry King showing up on TV. He's a big star there in Miami. 2 blocks away, there's a kid named Larry King Jr. Larry King never, ever had any contact with that kid until the kid was 40. When the kid was 40 years old, the kid finally said, you know what, I'm going to reach out to my dad. And he's like, oh, yeah, you got my name. That's right. Didn't you grow up like a couple of blocks from? Imagine the POS you have to be to know that you have a son who is just a couple blocks away from you. And you just never meet him. You never have no birthday cards, no nothing, not a care in the world. I will judge you for that. I will absolutely judge you for that. And I judge Larry King for that. But he died on this day in 2015, and that closes the circle. Captain Kangaroo died on this day. Johnny Carson died on this day. Larry King died on this day. That's pretty big. All right. Do we feel good? Do we feel like we understand what this day has been? Do we feel like we understand the history? Do we feel like we understand people who are sprung into this world and those who left it on this day. Okay, feel good? Let's get into the trending topics. Here are all the things that people are buzzing about today. Let's see. Monterey Park. Monterey Park is trending. Woke up to this yesterday. Yeah, Kevin Barber says that's the other thing about Larry King. He was a terrible interviewer. He was terrible. He didn't prep. I mean, famously, he just walked in and went, "Who am I talking to?" And they're like, "You're talking to Justin Bieber." I don't know. I'm just throwing somebody that you wouldn't know anything about. And then he just sits down and goes, "Justin Bieber, tell me about yourself." Like, just do you like cream cheese on your bagels? What kind of bagel? What's your order at Einstein's? Like, he was terrible. Larry King was terrible. He was the guy that you would go to if you were in trouble and you needed to make a public statement about it. You would go to Larry King because Larry King didn't ask any hard questions. He was like the opposite of Barbara Walters. He was terrible. Larry King was terrible. Well, Larry King was good at, and I give credit where credit is due because I used to enjoy Larry King's late night talk show. He had a nationally syndicated overnight talk show when I was in high school, and I used to listen to it. Larry King was good at taking calls. He was good at interacting with callers. And Larry King had just enough knowledge about just about anything that he could spend 30 seconds on the phone with somebody and sound like he's an expert and answer any question that they had. Larry King was good in that. But as far as sitting down with celebrities, he was a kiss ass. Larry King was a kiss ass who enjoyed having a celebrity. You're right. You're absolutely right, Kev. Monterey Park. Let's talk about this. So I woke up yesterday. I woke up yesterday with like two really bad things, and we'll talk about them. Not to mention how the day ended. My football day was not all great yesterday either, but it started out with, and this is interesting. This is interesting to me because I saw it trending when I was going to sleep. When I was going to sleep on Saturday night, I always pop up Twitter and look at what's trending just to see if anything is happening that's really big while I go to sleep. And I saw this. I saw Monterey Park. But underneath it, it said Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year. Like, those were the things that it was trending with. So I paid it no attention. I was just like, whatever. Okay, so every Chinese person in America is wishing each other Happy New Year. That's what I thought. That's what I thought. So I went to sleep. Well, I wake up to find out that I was really wrong about that. So another mass shooting yesterday, Saturday night. This is crazy too, because once I realized what this was, and it was still ongoing. Okay, so a 72-year-old man walks into a Chinese dance hall in Monterey Park, California, and just starts opening fire. Bam, 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 bam. Killed 10 people, sent 10 others to the hospital. He then leaves that Chinese dance hall, gets in his car, drives to Alhambra, California, which is the next town over, goes to another Chinese dance hall. And by the way, it's not that there's just a whole bunch of Chinese dance halls. It's just this is a very Chinese immigrant area of Los Angeles. Goes over to another dance hall in Alhambra and pulls out a gun, except at this place, some awesome dude, God, you know what? If we're all tested, may we all react in the way that this dude did. So crazy 72-year-old mass shooter shows up at the second location, pulls out the gun, starts aiming at people. And out of nowhere, this dude who was at the club, the dance hall, jumps him, takes the gun away from him. Now, here's what I don't get. He let him leave. Like, he took the gun away from him. You could see it. There's closed circuit video. I've not seen an actual video of the altercation, but I have seen freeze frame photos of it. And a young guy grabs the gun from the 17-year-old, pulls it away, or from the 72-year-old, pulls it away, and then the dude runs out. Like, he doesn't have his gun now. He's 72 years old, and he runs out. Now, I understand, like, in the moment, how would you react? And I guess we shouldn't question, because that dude saved a whole bunch of people's lives. That dude just took the gun away from him, but he let him leave. And I'm like, well, how do you let him? What does that happen? I mean, I guess maybe you're like, what the hell just happened? And what is this gun I'm holding? It's like, what am I doing? So I'm not going to be out, but he let him get away. And I just don't know that a 72-year-old man, should be able to get away after a young man jumps him and takes the gun from him. But he got away. Anyway, he got away. He got in his white cargo van and he just disappeared into the wind. Now, at this point, the first location in Monterey Park is being descended upon by all forms of law enforcement, emergency vehicles, first responders, all of that. It's a mass shooting. It's a big, big, ugly, sad situation that's happening over here. So, like I said, this all happened apparently before I went to bed. I went to sleep for about 6, 7 hours. I woke up in the morning and I see it trending again. But now I'm seeing now I'm seeing news reports on my timeline, and I'm like, oh, damn, there was a mass shooting last night. Oh, damn, it's still going on. There's a manhunt. So I jumped over and I start watching a police conference. And then suddenly they split the screen with the police conference because over in Torrance, California, which is about 20 miles away from where these things happened, Torrance police have a white cargo van. Torrance SWAT have a white cargo van barricaded in the parking lot of like a PetSmart or whatever it was. Citibank, I guess it was. But there was a PetSmart there too. And I watched that for 2 hours, live coverage of these two gigantic SWAT team Bearcats just pinned up against this white van. And I'm like, ooh, is the guy in the van? What's happening? Well, after about 2 hours, they finally moved in. They shattered the window. They opened the door, all on live TV, by the way. And they found the 72-year-old gunman, who I don't even give a shit about his name. They found the 72-year-old gunman slumped over the car, shot himself in the head. Turns out, or at least it's beginning to look like, there was a number of things that were happening, by the way, when I first jumped on this story. Like, first of all, you had all the crazy people on the left. And look, again, if you're new, and you're probably not new, but if you're new to the show, I think that there are just as many crazy nuts on the left as there are crazy nuts on the right, and that we, the normal people, we make about this 70% in the middle. It's just that those crazies on the right and the crazies on the left, they're just so loud. They're so loud, and it's like, shut up. So the crazies on the left were like, I bet he was a MAGA. I bet it was a hate crime. And I'm like, honestly, I mean, I would never that early have offered that up as details were still coming in. But I'm looking at the situation and I'm going, okay, Chinese New Year. I mean, seems like maybe it wasn't a race crime. It wasn't a hate crime. It was, even in the press conference, the police said, we're not sure that it's a hate crime. To which a lot of people online then went, oh, what, you're not sure it's a hate crime? Someone just opened fire. Well, it turns out it was another Chinese guy. It was a Chinese guy who went into a Chinese dance hall and killed 10 Chinese people and wounded 10 other Chinese people. So not always a hate crime. Everything does not have to be somehow equated to the current state of politics in this country, okay? Sometimes crazy people just do crazy things in their own neighborhood, and that's what this seems to have been. It appears that he was looking for his ex-wife. Apparently, his ex-wife left him. Well, an ex-wife. That's why they call it an ex. And he thought she was out celebrating, so he was just going around to all of these dance halls. His plan was that there were 2 others, apparently, that were on his list of places to check out. He was going to go to all of them, kill a whole bunch of people, and hopefully hit his wife. Whatever. Solid plan there, guy. Anyway, we won't have to deal with any kind of a trial or anything like that because he gacked himself. He gacked himself when the police, the SWAT teams, barricaded him in a parking lot there. And okay. Is there anything else? Any other comments that I need to make on this? No. Oh, yeah. Okay, so you know how I always say, like, when it comes to these mass shootings, that I have 2 different categories. There's the random shooting, where a guy is just, I'm so angry, I'm gonna walk to a mall and just kill everybody. Just the random, I'm gonna kill. That scares the shit out of me. Those people scare the shit out of me because I could very well be one of them random people. I could just be somewhere and have some nut go, I'm just killing indiscriminately. And then there's the other kind. There's the other kind where, you know, it's a gang beef and 10 people at a backyard barbecue get knocked out, or kids at a park or whatever. But it's a gang beef. It's something, it's targeted. So I do make a distinction between the random scary guy who just wants to go out, you know, and take a bunch of people with him, and the thing that's targeted, because the targeted thing, and neither are okay. That is not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is I can intellectualize the targeting. I can be like, well, it's a dangerous world and guns are freely available and a whole bunch of gangbangers have guns and, they're going to have beef and that kind of thing can happen. So, I can understand that. Well, I'm probably not going to ever be at a backyard barbecue in South Central. So I don't have to worry about that. But I might go to the mall. I might go to the mall and get, I don't know, an orange Julius or maybe a slice of pie from the Sparrow. I might be there when that guy shows up. I'm going to kill everybody. This seems targeted and random. Like this is one of those that I don't know how to work this one, the Monterey Park shooting in my head, because it seems like he was looking for his wife, but he killed a whole bunch of people that weren't his wife. So, and not even accidentally. Like when a gangbanger strafes a backyard barbecue and just tragically kills a whole bunch of people, maybe the person he was aiming at was in there somewhere, but I guess the wife got away and he didn't see her. So he just started killing people anyway. Yeah, I don't know. It's really gross. And then there's another one. We had another one. Although this one, I don't know if there's a body count on this one. Baton Rouge is also trending because on Saturday night, there was another targeted event. They're calling this one targeted. 12 injured in mass shooting at nightclub in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Gunfire erupted inside a Louisiana nightclub early Sunday and wounded at least a dozen people in what police are calling a targeted attack. Let's see what this was. One of the 12 victims was in critical condition after the shooting at the Dior Bar and Lounge in Baton Rouge. Red Stick, Louisiana. Baton Rouge. As of Monday, no arrests have been announced. This was not a random act of violence. Based on the preliminary investigation, Baton Rouge Police Chief Murphy Paul. Murphy Paul? His name's backwards. His name should be Paul Murphy, right? Wait, was it Paul Murphy? Peter Murphy. I was like, was Paul Murphy like a rock star in the 80s? Peter Murphy. All right. Chief Murphy Paul said in a news conference Sunday, we believe that this was a targeted event where someone was specifically targeted and others were injured in that process. I guess I really shouldn't care how I get shot, right? But taking the 30,000-foot view of these things, when I see these things happen, I go, okay, that was crazy scary. That one's targeted and other people got strafed. I guess it's very possible I could be in a room with somebody who cheated on her boyfriend and her boyfriend is going to show up, and just make everybody pay. This is the world we live in. This is why I don't go out. I don't go out at all. Almost went out on Friday night, but I ended up not going out. Yeah. Let's see here. What else do we have? So we've got those ugly things. Memphis police. Here's another ugly thing. The Memphis police were trending all weekend, still trending today. The Memphis police have fired 5 of their officers. Memphis police fire 5 officers involved in a traffic stop that preceded the Tyree Nichols death. I don't know about this one. I don't know about the Tyree Nichols. I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with this story. 5 Memphis police officers involved in the traffic stop that preceded the hospitalization and subsequent death of 29-year-old man were fired Friday evening. The police department said in a statement that the officers who had been on the force between 2.5 and 5 years violated multiple department policies, including those of use of force, failure to render aid, and their duty to intervene. Tyree D. Nichols of Memphis died 3 days after the traffic stop. It says here, earlier today, each officer charged was terminated from the Memphis Police Department. A written statement from Memphis Police Chief. I don't know how to pronounce this name. It's spelled Cerelyn. Cerelyn C.J. Davis. The egregious nature of this incident is not a reflection of the good work that the officers here in Memphis perform with integrity every day. The charges mentioned by Davis are internal department charges and not criminal ones. Officers Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, Emmett Martin III, Desmond Mills Jr., and Justin Smith were all fired Friday evening. They had been in the department since August of 2020. Since August 2020, and then it gives all their individuals. Okay, so yeah, all relatively new police officers. The officers released following a nearly 2-week-long internal investigation into policy violations. A civil rights investigation has been opened in the death. Let's see. All right. Well, we'll see what I'm unfamiliar. I am unfamiliar with this story. Let me see what happened. All right. According to a statement from the Memphis Police Department, officers pulled Nichols over around 8:30 p.m. on January 7th, and a confrontation ensued. Nichols eventually ran away, but was later arrested. Officers said another confrontation happened at that point, but he had already been detained. It was after this that police say Nichols complained of a shortness of breath and was taken to St. Francis Hospital in critical condition. An image of Nichols shared with the public shortly after his death showed an intubated Nichols. His face was disfigured from a combination of significant welts. His nose was nearly bent into the S shape. Blood was seen on his intubation tube and on his sheet. Okay, there you go. So that's terrible. 5 Memphis police officers have been fired. Lisa Marie is trending. Lisa Marie had her funeral. Her mom showed up. She's buried there at Graceland, right in the Presley family plot. Her mom got up. Oh man, seriously, is there anything sadder than that? I mean, a mom should never have to speak at a child's funeral. It's just not something that should ever have to be done. That's the other way. The other child should speak at the mom's funeral, but yeah, no. Anyway, you want to see it? That's out there. It's very moving. Hold on. We seem to be having some connection issues. So let's hold on. Frank, what does that have to do with anything? See, this is what I don't get. Frank, why was that a thing? Frank says the 5 officers in Tennessee are African-American and so is the victim. Why are you even going there? They're cops who killed a guy. Don't make it racial. That's, don't make it racial. Good one, Pugs. Don't make it racial. Everything is racial now. But yeah, it was 5 cops. This isn't a bad, evil white cop thing. It's bad cops doing bad cop stuff, and so they're gone. That's the way we need to look at all this stuff. George Santos is trending. God, this guy. Here's why he's trending again. He can trend for almost any reason. George Santos is trending because he's now admitting that he did do drag in Brazil. At first, he said he dressed up once. He's like, oh, what? I dressed up once and they took a picture, and now what? That's going to define me? Well, people say you did it for years. And yeah, as it turns out, George Santos did it for years. He was down there for a 3-year period. He was a drag. All right, so he doesn't want to be called a drag queen. He was a drag enthusiast. Drag hobbyist? I don't know. Let me see. I think there's a video of him. I think there's now a video that's been released of him in drag. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find this video. George Santos partied in drag over a 3-year period. New video appears to show, despite his suggestion that it was just one time. Just one time. All right, let's see what this is. So there's the picture. We've all seen that picture. Where's the video? Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, here you go. Okay. All right, let me show you this. So here's a video of George Santos down there in Brazil. This is proof that it was not as he said. George Santos lied? What? Yeah. So he's the one that looks like a woman. He's the one that's dressed in women's clothing. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is your conservative, Republican, MAGA-aligned new congressman from Long Island, George Santos.
Aconteceu, né? Porque a bandeira desorganizadíssima, muita pouca gente, subúrbio, né? Não é Rio, a bandeira não tem bofe nenhum. E tá cheio de travesti. Eu quero bofe aqui de baixo. Cadê vocês? Quero os bofes todos aqui. Você chega a se apresentar, você faz apresentações lá? Eu faço apresentação na 1140, em Jacarepaguá. Faço em Cascadura, né? Egito. Já fiz na Cabaré Casa Nova, em Céu, na Glória, né? E já fiz uma na Leboy. E o que você está achando do evento? O evento está bem organizado. Gostei muito.
All right, well, there you go. There you go. George Santos as, what was her name? Katara. So whatever. I'm not sure what the drag name was, but he lied again. He lied again. When the picture came out of him looking like the Chiquita Banana Lady, when that picture came out, he was like, yeah, it's just one time. Yeah, I did it once. It was crazy. Now, apparently, there's all kinds of stuff. There's a whole bunch of other pictures, but now there's video as well of him at some Brazilian carnival festival or whatever, being a lady. Being a lady, that's fine. You do you. You do you, George. I'm not judging. If you want to be it, that's fine. That is fine. But, own it, I guess, and probably don't represent values that are in complete opposition to the way that you have lived your life, because you would like to think that maybe there's a little bit of an empathy towards people who lived their lives the way you did, and you don't have to really punish them for doing the same thing that you did. Anyway, he's all over the road politically, but as it turns out, he was the drag queen don't call him a queen, drag enthusiast for a good 3 years there. Let's see here. Yeah, Ross. So SNL, first of all, SNL this past weekend was good, really good. I don't say great but SNL was so good this weekend. And that is entirely due to the presence of Aubrey Plaza. Ladies and gentlemen, Aubrey Plaza at this young age, on her way to being a national treasure. Aubrey Plaza keeps cranking stuff out for the next 20 years. She's going to be in Catherine O'Hara, Dolly Parton, National Treasure. I adore Aubrey Plaza. And so funny too, because they had Amy Poehler on. Of course they brought Amy Poehler on because Aubrey Plaza is and on Weekend Update she was hosting. Not Amy Poehler, Aubrey Plaza. On Weekend Update, they made Aubrey Plaza be April Ludgate from Parks and Rec. And so she came out as April Ludgate, who was such a funny character. That character of April Ludgate, I mean, that's the first place we all ever saw Aubrey Plaza. And we're like, man, that weird little misanthropic goth girl is pretty funny. And so Weekend Update had April Ludgate and what was Amy Poehler's character's name on Parks and Rec? Forgot her name already. Anyway, it was good. Aubrey Plaza was great. And Aubrey Plaza, I heard her earlier in the week talking about how she auditioned 3 times for Saturday Night Live. And Lorne Michaels was like, yeah, no, I don't get it. Another example why Lorne Michaels needs to get the hell out of Saturday Night Live. They need to put somebody younger who can identify stars. All right. Again, list of people who went on to become major stars that Lorne Michaels said, I don't see it. Dave Chappelle, he didn't see it. Key and Peele, he didn't see it. Aubrey Plaza, he didn't see it. What else? Who else? There's the people who were personally shot down by Lorne Michaels because he didn't see it is just a rogues gallery of some of the most successful and funny people. They didn't need Saturday Night Live. They went and did it on their own. Amy Schumer, she's another one. Although, you can have your feelings about Amy Schumer either way. But she's another one who auditioned multiple times for Saturday Night Live. And you're not funny. Really? Because Comedy Central disagrees. They just gave her own show where she's doing nothing but her own sketches. And guess what? It's a hit. She's now a movie star. So, okay. All right. Do we dare get into this next little... This was a tough one. Yeah, on a day when there's another bad thing that I woke up to yesterday, and we'll talk about that as the show continues. But so I woke up to the mass shooting. That was like, and then the day ended with the elimination of the Dallas Cowboys from the playoffs. Cowboys, how about them Cowboys? Yeah, about them. 26 years. Is it 26 years failing to reach the conference title game? What are you going to, what? I'll say this about the Cowboys. About the Cowboys losing to the 49ers yesterday in a lame game. That game was lame. And I'll tell you, up until the game yesterday, I thought the San Francisco 49ers were going to be the Super Bowl champions. Yeah, I fully expected the San Francisco 49ers to beat the Cowboys yesterday. I didn't say it because there are too many people in my world who would be, angry at that take. But, I thought after last Saturday's game, I saw the San Francisco 49ers and how they played the Seattle Seahawks, and I went, this team is just too filled with talent. There is no way anybody is going to stop this team. And then last night we saw what could stop them, and that is their rookie quarterback, Mr. Irrelevant, Brock Purdy. Maybe he's coming back down to earth at the least, at the worst possible time for the 49ers. Or maybe he just played the toughest defense that he's played all season, because you got to give credit. Look, no matter how upset you are about Dak Prescott, no matter how upset you are over the Pollard injury, it doesn't. You got to give it up to the defense. That defense kicked. That defense was great yesterday. God love them. That's an incredibly talented San Francisco 49ers offense. Even Brock Purdy, whatever. Still, the weapons that team has. Oh God, and the Cowboys essentially shut them down. So let me brag a little bit on my kid. My kid is a little football meathead, and he is a diehard Cowboy fan. And over the last couple of years, when the Cowboys have been eliminated, it has been a very difficult time for my little guy. He doesn't process it well. He doesn't understand how the team that he likes, that he has convinced himself is the greatest of all time, how they could possibly lose to somebody. And so he would have little fits. He would cry, 10, 11, 12-year-old kid. This is a big thing for them. This is big. You think it's big for like a 45-year-old dude. Imagine being a kid and this is your team, and you're heartbroken. You're so excited the whole time, the week leading up to it. So I didn't have my kid this weekend, but I knew the game was going on, and I left him alone. I left him alone during this game. Typically during games, we text back and forth and all that, but I left him alone. I wanted him to whole process this thing. And like minutes after the game ended, my phone starts blowing up. Now I jumped in the shower right after the game. So as I'm getting in the shower, I hear the phone ringing. And I don't think it's him. I don't think it's him. I think it's something else. Don't worry, I'll call him back. I'll get out of the shower. I'll call whoever it is back. The whole time I'm in the shower, this phone is ringing and ringing and ringing and ringing. Just called 5 times while I was in the shower, and over the course of like 7 minutes, right? So I get out of the shower, I'm dripping wet, and I look at the phone and I see it's him. So now I'm like just overwhelmed with guilt. Oh my God, my kid is going through a thing and I didn't pick up, and oh, what an a-hole. I got to call him right back. So I call him right back. And I'm prepared to talk the little guy down. I'm prepared for him to be in tears. I'm prepared for him to be upset. And I call, he picks up, and I go, hey buddy, how you doing? Right? Like that. I'm like, how you doing? Like, I don't want to bring it up if he doesn't want to talk about it, but I assume that has something to do with the reason he's calling. Hey buddy, how you doing? And my kid goes, yeah, I'm fine. They suck. Hey, what's Grandma's password for HBO Max? That's all he wanted. That's all he wanted. He wanted to drown his sorrows in the latest episode of The Last of Us. He didn't want to talk about the game. He just wanted to move on. And I was so proud of him. I was so proud, because that is not how he had reacted in the past. And we've had long talks about the way he processes defeat as a fan, and the way that, you need to just let it roll off you. And that's why championships are so amazing, because of all of these things that you go through in your life. Nothing is promised. Your team might look good on paper, and they might statistically be the best or whatever. We learned this with the White Sox. He used to take every White Sox loss so deeply seriously. He would just get mad, storm around. Not now. Apparently he's grown up. He was obviously upset about his team losing, but thank you to HBO Max for having The Last of Us debut a new episode on Sunday, because he went right from the Cowboy game to, yeah, what's Grandma's password for HBO Max? Like, okay, all right. You want to watch your grandma's HBO Max? Yeah. I'm like, well, why don't you just call her and ask her for it? I'm thinking, well, that'd be a nice little thing. And he goes, wouldn't it be just quicker if you just gave it to me? And I go, what? He goes, I'll call. Fine, I'll call her. Do you want me to call? I go, and sensing that he was kind of in a bad mood because of the cowboy thing, I go, no, dude, you don't have to. That's fine. But just if you want something from her, you got to ask her. That's all. But I was so proud of him. I was so proud of him. And here I sent him a text like an hour later because I couldn't believe how well that he had processed it. I sent him here. This is what I sent him. Just a random text. I sent okay, so I just at 10:18 last night, I just sent him a text that said, "I'm really proud of you." To which he responded, "Why? Like why? Like why would you?" And then I said, "No, just in general. I just felt like giving you a compliment. I just wanted you to know." So I didn't go to why I was proud of him, but that was why. And he responded, "Well, thank you." So, although the Cowboys lost, I feel like we've made some progress with my little meatball son, my little meatball kid. He can now handle, and he's getting used to. Or maybe is that the lot of the Cowboy fan? I don't know. You guys tell me. You guys have probably been lifelong Cowboy fans. Is that the lot of it that you just expect it now, and after 26 years of these defeats without any kind of real payoff? Dak. Everybody's like, so I'll give you some Cowboy thoughts. Dak ain't the problem. I just don't think that Dak is the problem. I think that getting rid of I think that when you look at what Joe Burrow has, when you look at the weapons that he's throwing to, I mean, when T Higgins isn't your number one, you've got some weapons there, and all I could think of was, man, how much better would the Cowboys have been in these kinds of situations with Amari Cooper if they hadn't just let Amari Cooper go for whatever reason? I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily Dak. I think Dak is great. I think Dak is going to take a whole lot of shit now for a long time. There's going to be a whole lot of people who somehow think that there's just a tree out there that grows quality quarterbacks that you can just pick. Please stop it. Take it from me, a Chicago Bear fan. That quarterback tree doesn't exist. It's not out there. And you could spend 20 years looking for, hell, Chicago Bears haven't had a quarterback since Sid Luckman, and he retired in, ready for this, 1949. That was the last time the Chicago Bears had a quarterback who was one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. So look, man, don't take Dak for granted. Dak is a very talented guy. And by the way, I cringe when I think of that first interception that Dak threw. It looked really bad. But then, you watch it on the breakdown, that looked like that might have been more of like a receiver issue. Like that receiver didn't really. He broke off the route. He stopped and planted where the ball should have been, and then broke off the route, which allowed the corner to basically jump the route and pick it off really easy. And it looked like a really bad pass. But I don't know if that one was 100% Dak's fault. Take a look at it. You tell me what you think. Cowboy fans in general, they didn't take this very well. Cowboy fans were over they did one of those big watching parties at AT&T Stadium, and apparently there were all kinds of problems. Let's pull up some of these and watch. A bunch of fan brawls over there at AT&T Stadium. Let's see. Here, let's. Where's the first one? All right. You know what? Here, we'll watch it. Want to watch some fans brawl? I do. There we go. Okay. So this happened in the moments following the Cowboys game out there at AT&T Stadium where they were doing a watch party. Let's get into it. Here we go. These are all fans of the same team. What the hell? What is going on? This is why I don't go to these events. Too many idiots. All right. So there's that one. We got another one too. Here, we'll watch this one now. Where's the second one? Sorry. Hold on. Where's the other cowboy fight? There we go. All right, give me a. All right, here's the second one. Let's give this one a view. Okay, all right, cowboy fans, bunch of knuckleheads. I'll tell you, you're all a bunch of knuckleheads. Nope, not that one. All right, hold on. I'm sorry. Oh, go lay down. The dog is up because someone's mowing their lawn next door. So now the dog's like, they can't do that. All right, here you go.
Cowboys fans.
All right, so there is a dude in an orange security jacket who is going to come running, and I guess he doesn't see a dude on the ground, and the dude on the ground stands up just as the security guy starts running and trips the security guy, and the security guy goes flying. All right, it's one of these guys. One of these guys goes flying. Dude was on the ground and he stood up just as anyway.
We suck.
All right, there you have it. Cowboy fans, behave yourself. What the hell's wrong with you? What else do we have? What else is trending today? Buzz Aldrin. We just talked about him the other day. We talked about Buzz Aldrin. He was celebrating his birthday. Well, this past weekend, Buzz Aldrin got married. Buzz Aldrin is a badass. Buzz Aldrin was the second man on the moon. Buzz Aldrin got married. He's 93 years old. And can we take a moment and just kind of check out Buzz Aldrin's wife? Buzz Aldrin married a doctor. He got himself a doctor lady. Remember, he's 93 years old, Buzz Aldrin. Look at what Buzz Aldrin's pulling in. Look at Buzz Aldrin, 93. What is it? What is she? She's a doctor. First of all, she's Dr. something Aldrin. She's a doctor, and she looks, I don't know. I guess maybe she could be in like her 50s, but she looks 45. He's 93. Look at this. Look at the cool ass moon wings. Oh, only a couple dudes on the planet get to wear those. Yeah. You think your military or whatever salad awards are cool? No. That's the one. Here, what else? Look at her. She's beautiful. Buzz Aldrin, 93 years old, man. She's great. Good for him. Now I like Buzz Aldrin even more. He's happy. She's just in it for the money. First of all, she's a doctor. She's not in it for the money. Second of all, those rules don't apply when you're Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin is a really cool dude. He is like historically cool. People think he's a badass, so I could see how a woman might be attracted to a guy that's got that kind of shit. You know what I mean? He's Buzz Aldrin. Good for him. Buzz Aldrin, 93 years old, got married over the weekend to a really hot chick. Like crazy. Something weird is happening when I would date the woman that 93-year-old Buzz Aldrin is involved with. Bret Easton Ellis was trending yesterday. I wanted to mention this. Bret Easton Ellis has a new book out called The Shards, but that's not why we're talking about Bret Easton Ellis. Bret Easton Ellis went on a rant about Gen X, of which he is considered the Bret Easton Ellis Less Than Zero, Bret Easton Ellis, American Psycho, Bret Easton Ellis, Rules of Attraction, Bret Easton Ellis. Bret Easton Ellis is sort of like the writer for Gen X. He's the guy that like wrote, "This is our lifestyle. This is our generation." He had some very interesting things to say in an interview about his new book, The Shards, which is his return to telling the story of Gen X. This one surrounds a serial killer who is stalking teenagers in the 1980s in Los Angeles. So it'd be like if you take Less Than Zero, you take those kids, but then drop in like a Dahmer type, like a serial killer. Anyway, sounds very interesting. but he said something in this interview that he went viral for yesterday, and he's still trending today. And it was something that a lot of people probably don't want to hear, but I read it and I go, yeah, man, I kind of agree with that. And he talks about how the characters that he wrote about, which were very autobiographical, the characters in Less Than Zero and the characters in Rules of Attraction and all that, those were all him writing about his group of friends and the people that he knew and people that he hung around with. He talked about all of the trauma. The interviewer asked him, when you write the stories of Julian in Less Than Zero, do you ever consider the way that those traumas may have affected him in later life? And Bret Easton Ellis said something really smart about this whole, well, it's because I was diddled at 15. He goes, yeah, those were never called traumas in our generation. And I don't think our generation still looks at all of the bad things that happened to us in childhood or in our formative years as life-defining traumas. What they are life experiences. And I thought, man, isn't that true? And then he went into this whole thing about how, blaming behavior or retroactively blaming people for things. Look, I don't want to get too far upfield, but he's a really smart guy and he's a really thoughtful guy. And these were some really provocative things that he said. So if you see Bret Easton Ellis trending, that's going to be why, because he thinks that millennials and Gen Z and all that are using life trauma, which we used to just call life experience. Yeah, bad shit happened. Look, I was 6 months old when my father was murdered. Could I be resting on that? Well, it's because I went through a trauma. No. I had a lot of things in my life that I think might be considered traumatic. I think they made me better. I think they shaped who I am. They made me aware that life isn't a Brady Bunch episode, that people have to clear some hurdles that they may experience in life. And when you clear those hurdles, they should make you better. They shouldn't provide you with a crutch or an excuse for bad behavior later in life, which is essentially what he said. And I have to tell you, I don't necessarily disagree. Read the whole thing. You don't need it from me out of context, but it was very interesting. And I'm a big fan of Bret Easton Ellis. Bret Easton Ellis. I'm actually going to read The Shards. No, you're not. You're not going to read The Shards, but you are going to see the movie. Yeah, that's true, because all his shit is adapted into movies, so I'll see the movie The Shards. Tim Allen is trending. Here's another funny one. Tim Allen is trending because Pam Anderson gave an interview. Do you remember Pam Anderson was the Tool Time chick in the first 2 seasons of Home Alone before she got Baywatch? Before Pam Anderson was Pam Anderson from Baywatch, she was the Tool Time girl on the first 2 seasons of Home Alone. Home Improvement. That was the Tim Allen show. She says that Tim Allen, that on her first day on the set, Tim Allen was standing behind the set in a bathrobe, and she came out of her dressing room looking all sexy, because that was the whole point of her on that show, was to be all sexy. Remember the first time you saw Pam Anderson on Home Improvement? Yeah, I do. I was like, whoa, whoa. Anyway, she came out of her dressing room and Tim Allen was standing there in a bathrobe. And as she came out, she said, "Hello, Tim." And he opened up his bathrobe, exposing his penis. And he said, "Well, since I've seen you naked, you may as well see me naked." And she laughed and she went on and, whatever. Traumatic? Probably not. She lived with Tommy Lee. How? Seriously. We're talking. Anyway, she's talking now about, this whole thing, and people are trashing Tim Allen, and Tim Allen is trending. Tim Allen deserves to be trashed. As I said about Larry King, Tim Allen's a piece of POS. Tim Allen is a total POS. So could I see him? Yeah, absolutely. I could see him doing that. Tim Allen has denied it. It's not something that I would ever do. Tim Allen is a POS because of his coke dealing days. He was a big coke dealer, and he ratted out everybody. He turned rat. He, instead of, facing, he went to jail. Tim Allen went to jail. We've all seen the mug shots. Tim Allen was a coke dealer, and he ratted everybody out. He's just like, you don't rat. You can't rat. Kill yourself. Kill yourself, but don't rat. You don't rat. He ratted. He ratted on all of his friends. People went to jail, all that kind of stuff. He went on. He became a big movie star, or whatever the hell it is that Tim Allen is. So I think Tim Allen is a POS. However, he's denying it. He is denying that this ever happened. He's denying that that is not something that he would ever do. But then this appeared. Then this came out. Oh, it's gone. Sorry, that tweet has been deleted. No way. No way. Hold on. Give me a second here. There's a video, there's an outtake from Home Improvement with Tim Allen. He said, I would never flash anyone. There's an outtake from Home Improvement. And it's an outtake because, you hear the director go, cut, and everybody's laughing and it's so funny. Tim Allen is standing in a kilt and his wife is talking to him. The actress who played, I don't know, what's her name? Patricia, I don't know, whatever her name is. She's talking to him in the scene, and out of nowhere, he just lifts up his kilt. And obviously he's not wearing anything underneath because of the reaction of the woman who plays his wife. She's like, oh my God. And everybody starts laughing. And he's like, look how crazy I am. I showed her my dick. Now here we are. He's like, after Pam Anderson is saying, yeah, he showed me his dick. He's going, I would never do that. And then that video surfaces. Here's the problem, though. That video has been removed. Wonder why that is. Let me see if it exists somewhere else. Tim Allen. Okay, let's see. Let's see if it exists anywhere else. Because it's pretty... Well, there's his mug shot when he was a coke dealer, and he ratted on everybody else to get some years taken off his sentence. All right, yeah, it doesn't seem to be out there. I don't know why somebody pulled it down. It was crazy. Oh my God, a lot of pictures of Pamela Anderson from that time. Wow, she was. Oh boy, yeah. All right, I'm sorry, they pulled it down. But there is video out there of Tim Allen. Tim Allen denies that he ever did that with Pamela Anderson, and he doesn't know what she's talking about. And then there's video from the very same era of him flashing his dick. Look, I never understood that. I never got, that was a pretty common thing. Dudes used to whip it out all the time. It killed Louis C.K.'s career. It was like a thing that was deemed normal, I guess, or it's crazy. He's crazy. But, a lot of people did that. Again, not me, not any of my friends. It wasn't really kind of thing we were into. But apparently, I'll tell you this, Danny Bonaducci. Okay, I've seen Danny Bonaducci's dick more times than I've seen my own. That guy, that was his go-to thing. Like a girl would walk into the room and he would be standing there with his penis hanging out of his, and it was hysterical. Oh, that's so funny. Look at his dick. I never got it. I was always like, what? That's kind of weird. Now, by today's lens, that's a predatory behavior. I don't know that we looked at it that way back then. I just kind of looked at it as gross and something that'll work. You should talk to my partner, Kelly. My partner, Kelly, has seen a lot of dudes whip their dicks out. She used to tell stories about it all the time. She didn't understand it either. Maya Rudolph is trending. Why is Maya Rudolph trending? Maya Rudolph is trending because apparently, remember the green M&Ms? Remember, I don't even know. This is such a stupid culture war story. I don't get this, but apparently the Mother Tucker on Fox News went nuts on green M&Ms. From what I understand, and I might have this might be very reductive of the whole situation, but it seems like he's upset because the green M&M was Miss Green and she wore high heels. And then M&M said, we're going to make this more inclusive, which was their first mistake. Don't ever use the word inclusive. There are people that don't want to hear that word. You're just going to get you in trouble. Just do it. Just be inclusive. Just don't say you're going to be inclusive. So they decided that they were going to take her high heels away from her and put her in like, little Reeboks, like little commuter lady walking to work and stuff. You know what I mean? And I always thought that was very sexy, by the way, too. I always thought it was. I'm not a feet guy. Anybody who knows me knows I'm not a feet guy, but I always thought it was like sexy commuter girls, how they would wear little Reeboks to and from the train station, and then they'd get into work and they'd sit down and they'd put on their like high heels and they'd put their little shoes in their purse. I don't know. I always liked that. I never did it because I always wore gym shoes everywhere because I was a guy. But you know what I mean? So that's how they dressed up the little M&M. The mother Tucker over there on Fox went nuts because he loves stupid shit. If it's something stupid to gin up the really stupid people that watch his show, he's going for it. And he made it a big deal. And now M&Ms have decided that they're going to eliminate the spokes candies. They've made a big deal about it, big PR thing today. They're eliminating the spokes candies, and they have hired soon-to-be national treasure Maya Rudolph to now be the spokesperson for M&M's. So Maya Rudolph is now going to be doing the M&M commercials, the characters that we've all known to I don't know, put up with. I was going to say know and love. The M&M candies, I never really gave them much thought. So Maya Rudolph is going to be the new spokesperson. However, this should not be taken as a victory by the mother Tucker because, as it turns out, this is a work by M&M's. M&M's is apparently got something up their sleeve, and this is all hype for a big Super Bowl commercial that they are going to be airing, which people are saying will absolutely feature the green M&M. So apparently, all this talk about how Tucker Carlson got him to get rid of the green M&M and they went and hired Maya Rudolph. Apparently, this is all just a thing and that we will see what it's all about during the Super Bowl. It's all hype for a big M&M Super Bowl commercial featuring Maya Rudolph. And they're presenting it as, we got rid of it because Tucker Carlson didn't like the green M&M. Lab-grown meat is trending. Lab-grown meat. They're going to go out. So some company that's making lab-grown meat, not real meat, just grown it in the lab. That's real. No, it's not. No, it's not. They're going to grow meat, which is great if I lived in the Sahara Desert, right? Or Somalia or someplace where they have trouble getting food. Then fine. Give me a nice piece of lab-grown beef. That's fine. That'll be good. But no, I don't live there. If I want a steak, I can go get a steak. Boy. And so this company that is making lab-grown meat, they've hired like these world-class chefs. Some famous ones. I don't know their names because I'm not a chef groupie. I think that Jose Andre guy is one of them. The guy that feeds and helps people. So they're going to use all of these like great chefs to cook lab-grown meat to show people how it can work. Whatever, that's fine. Would you eat lab-grown meat? Ugh, no. Don't tell me, please. That's the thing. Sure, would I eat it? Absolutely. You put a steak in front of me, I'll eat it. But if just before I put it in my mouth, you go, that's lab-grown synthetic meat, I'm going to be like, yep, nope, no, thank you, no. I mean, yes, I suppose you could say, well, isn't it like, you're just eating an animal. You're just like ripping the flesh off an animal and cooking. Yeah. The way we have for a billion years or however long humanity has walked on this earth. That's okay. I'm comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with a bunch of people in a lab, with the little droplets and beakers and then creating a steak. No, I don't want to eat that. Do you guys want? Is that something you might? No, I don't think so. Let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, we can show this. Okay. So on Saturday Night Live this weekend, Bowen Yang, who I don't find him funny at all. I don't like him. He's the best. Bowen Yang is like one of the best in Saturday Night Live history. I'm like, no, I remember the last time you said that with Leslie Jones. And I was like, Yeah, she's got one speed. She doesn't have range. She's not particularly good at anything other than being this character of Leslie Jones. How can you say that she's one of the best in the history when a guy like Phil Hartman used to walk those holes? Anyway, Bowen Yang is kind of the same thing. People just like, oh, I just love Bowen Yang. But Bowen Yang has not really. Again, Bowen Yang seems to have one speed. He has one cadence to the way he delivers lines. It's always the same attitude. It's always the same character. Essentially, I just don't love him. However, Bowen Yang did play George Santos on Saturday Night Live. Now, this could be a character that he's going to get a lot of airtime with, because I can't imagine that the George Santos situation is going to go away anytime soon. So I thought that was good. I thought Bowen Yang was great. However, I had wondered. I was like, I wonder how Saturday Night Live is going to do the whole George Santos thing. And for me, it was obvious. They had done this before. You bring in somebody who is not a cast member and you have them play a character, right? Like they did it with first and foremost, the greatest one of all time was Melissa McCarthy being brought in to do Sean Spicer. Remember those? Those were so funny. Then they did it again. They did it with Trump with Alec Baldwin. They did it with Biden with Jim Carrey very early on. They do this from time to time. They don't have to dip into the cast. Saturday Night Live did dip into the cast. They went with Bowen Yang, and there you go. So, and he was good. He was good. It was fun. It was fine. But before I saw that, thinking of what they were going to do, it seems so obvious to me. John freaking Lovitz, who famously on Saturday Night Live was the liar. Yeah, that's the ticket. That's the guy they bring back to thunderous applause playing George Santos. And they didn't do it. But guess what? Somebody did. And I didn't know about this until today. I was actually upset. I was like, man, they missed an opportunity to have John Lovitz play George Santos. Well, guess who didn't miss the opportunity? Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Fallon and The Tonight Show. So watch this. Here you go. This is John Lovitz as, let me see if I can get this. Nope, that's not going to work. Here's John Lovitz doing George Santos. Yeah, that's the ticket. Yeah, that would have been absolutely perfect. Here we go.
Tonight is a congressman from Queens, New York, who's involved in a lot of controversy right now. Here to set the record straight, please welcome Congressman George Santos. Mr. Santos, welcome to the show.
Oh, hi, James. Thanks for fitting me in. I'm just in town to pick up my Nobel Peace Prize.
Congratulations.
Yeah, perform a couple nights at Madison Square Garden.
I didn't know you were playing MSG.
Yes, I'll be singing all my hit songs. Piano Man, Hey Jude, Happy Birthday.
Well, I'm glad you're here, Congressman, because I have some questions. A lot of people have called you out for lying about details in your life. And what do you have to say to that?
Well, I don't consider the things I've said to be lies. They're what my great-grandfather, Winston Churchill, he would call them embellishments. I embellish, and on my hot dog, I put relish. I relish the embellish. Jimmy.
Now you...
I don't know that the writing was so great on tonight's show, but that's the missed opportunity. That's what Saturday Night Live should have done. They should have brought John Lovitz back. He has a connection to the show. Again, it would have received more. It would have been great. Anyway, they missed the opportunity. So there you go. Finally today, so I said yesterday that I woke up to some really, just yesterday was a shit day. Whether it's football, I mean, look, I haven't even mentioned how, I exist here in a Buffalo Bills universe, right? So the 1%er compound that I live in is owned by a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, arguably the biggest Buffalo Bills fan you've ever met. The house is filled with Buffalo Bills. It's just Buffalo Bills, Buffalo Bills. He's wearing a Buffalo Bills hat he's wearing a different jersey every day. Oh, what do you got? Jim Kelly today? Oh, what is that? Thurman Thomas? Oh, you busted out the Josh Allen. Very nice. So that was like a mood killer, right? I haven't been in the house. I haven't been over there to the main house since the Bills lost, because you just got to give it space. Whatever. So that was a bummer. Then the Cowboys lost, so I was very concerned about dealing with my own kid and how he was going to handle the Cowboys loss. Then we got the mass shooting, the mass shooting that occurred in Southern California. But in the middle of all of that, oh, good Lord. I hate that. In the middle of all that, and this may not mean anything to you, although it probably will mean something to a couple of people in the chat room who I see in there now. So if you're from Texas, this means absolutely nothing. Yeah, all right, I'm not going to play that. You know what? Maybe I will play it. Why not? We'll just. For those of you who don't know who this is, an icon of Chicago radio, passed away yesterday. Hold on. Let's pull this up. We'll just watch the report as it aired. Here we go. This was very sad.
Lynn Bramer Legendary Chicago radio personality Lynn Bramer has died. Bramer was a morning and then midday host for WXRT-FM for decades, and he fought prostate cancer for years, and last July, he announced that the cancer had spread. He took a leave of absence from the airwaves, but returned briefly in November and December. Bramer called himself your best friend in the whole world, and listeners agreed.
Lynn Bramer on the radio was really giving us a very good idea of Lynn Bramer, the person was. It's easy to use a lot of words or even just a few really big words to describe him because he was so full of life.
Sure was. And the Chicago Cubs paying tribute to Bramer tonight. And WXRT will honor Bramer's life and legacy tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. Lynn Bramer was just 68 years old.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Lynn Bramer. First of all, for people who don't understand, he was the morning man at WXRT for 30 years, which is the greatest rock music station in America. Go ahead. I'll fight you on that. And you ain't going to have a whole lot of people who are going to argue with that, at least not people who are in the know about. WXRT is a freeform rock station that it's not freeform anymore. It's a little bit more regimented. But for 50 years, when all the other radio stations were doing formats, when all the other radio stations were going, no, we're classic rock, so we can't play that. That's new rock. XRT didn't do that. XRT played whatever the DJs wanted to play. XRT played a format. I'll give you an example. So yesterday when I woke up and I read the news about Lynn Bramer, who I did not know. I'd been in the same room with him a number of times. He was not someone that I ever worked with, but he was somebody that I loved. Like you watch the way a guy does his career and you go, man, how do you get that? How do you get to be that guy? How do you get to be a guy who, now granted, he woke up and did morning radio for 30 years, which is really tough to do, but how do you just be a guy that nobody dislikes? He never tried to be a shot jock. He never tried to win ratings battles. He never did any of that stuff. He was just a really cool dude who played really cool music. So yesterday when he died, I went over to WXRT and I wanted to see what they were doing, like if they were talking about it. And just to give you an example of WXRT, they played the first song that they played was they were playing the Beatles, "In My Life," and then they segued from "In My Life," the Beatles, into The Cure, "Pictures of You," into Greta Van Fleet. That's the station. That's like how the station is. It's just. It's just a great station. And he was sort of the guy at that station. And radio's filled with, we say this all the time, but you know what? People in radio die all the time, and I don't do these kinds of tributes or talks about them. But radio is filled with bad people. Radio is filled with 9 out of 10 people in radio are Russ Martin. Like 9 out of 10 people are just bad human beings. You know, they're mean and they're cruel off the air and they're narcissistic and insecure, and that manifests itself in like really awful ways. 9 out of 10 are like that. And then, you know, for every 9 of those, you do occasionally get one Lynn Bramer who, again, there's not a person who knows who he is who has ever thought, God, isn't that the nicest guy in the world? I don't know. I just got really choked up. He's a regular on my favorite sports radio station that I listen to in the afternoon while I'm puttering around. Get out of the garbage. I'm talking about Lynn Bramer. Dog just tried to get into the garbage while I'm having a moment. And anyway, he was a regular on this sports radio station that I listen to, just because he's an icon in the city and he really likes sports, and he's more of a music nerd than he is like a sports guy. But because, you know, he's Lynn Bramer, he would pop up on this radio show all the time. And I swear he was just on last week. And I had no idea he was even sick. Like, I knew that he was sick. Like, I remember like a year ago that they were like, yeah, Lynn's got cancer. He's going to, like, you know, dial back his morning show. But then he came back and he's appearing on the sports show, and he's funny, and he's, you know, dishing it up with, you know, these sports radio guys. So to wake up on Sunday and go and realize that, like, this guy, this hero of mine, this I was never a music guy, but I was never, you want to know why I was never a music guy? Why I always went into talk? Because I love music, and people who know me know that I can talk music, and, you know, I've got some takes, and I was never a music guy because there was only one job that I could do, and Lynn Bramer was doing it. He was like, he had the most enviable job in music radio. Every music jock in the country knew who he was because he had the coolest job. He worked at a station that didn't force a playlist on him. He could walk in and say, you know what, I'm in this kind of a mood, so I'm gonna play a couple of I'm gonna play a couple of Doobie Brothers songs into a couple of Police songs into something brand new by I don't know. Anyway, it was shocking to me, and that really bummed me out yesterday for a period. And reading all of the tributes to him and stuff. So you don't know who he is. Some of you all of you who are in Chicago, you know who he is because he's Lynn Bramer. I don't know who to compare him to. There would be nobody. Like, okay, so it's hard to compare him because you can't really compare WXRT to any other radio station. WXRT was an independently run radio station. 2 rich guys ran it. And no matter how music changed, where they went into formats and what format are you? They're like, good music. That's what format we are. Kira here in town but that's a public station. That's different. That's not a commercial station. This was a commercial radio station. And, you know, it won, you know, boatloads of Marconi Awards for Stations of the Year. It's one of the most enviable stations in music radio because of their devotion to just allowing people who love music to be their hosts and play the music that they love for their specific audience. And then I don't know, about 25 years ago, maybe, WXRT, the owners were getting older and they sold it. They sold it to, I think at the time it was CBS Radio. So there's a lot of people were worried. Oh my God, corporate's coming in. They're doing this. CBS Radio, which is one of the most formatted. I mean, CBS, the way CBS ran radio between like 1990 and 2010 basically destroyed it. They were one of these, they were one of the bad operators who would play the same damn song 1,000 times. They didn't change WXRT. When CBS took over ownership, they went, yeah, we're going to leave you guys alone. We're going to leave you guys alone to continue doing it. And that's where Lynn Bramer stayed. So keep a good thought for Lynn Bramer. He's a personal hero of mine. Again, not a friend, not someone that I knew. I mean, I know just about everybody in Chicago radio, but he was like one of those guys that I would be nervous to be around. And that's crazy because I'm perfectly comfortable with, the Mount Rushmore of Chicago radio, with Steve Dahl, Gary Meyer, Jonathan Brandmeier, Kevin Matthews, any of these people, Bob Collins, all of these people I'm totally comfortable with. I wouldn't have been comfortable around Lynn Bramer because it's not that he's bigger than them. It's that he just did something so pure for his entire life. Man, that's the way radio should be. That's the way it should be. That's the way it was, He's just a guy who knew a lot about music, had really cool tastes, and would just show up and go, well, we're going to play today. It's not quite like that. I mean, there is a somewhat of a format. Like he couldn't just in the middle of the day start playing polka music. You know what I mean? It wasn't like that. But anyway, there you have it. Lynn Bramer has died, and Chicago radio will never be the same again. And all day long, I've been listening to him on the morning. All morning, I've been listening to WXRT. They've been doing actually, you know what? Let me see something. This is highly illegal. Let's see what XRT is doing right now. Doing Lynn Bramer. Let's see. Let's see what this is. Create an account. I don't want to create an account. Fleet Foxes. There you go. We'll probably follow this up with some Rolling Stones from Sticky Fingers. They're all over. All right, so all day long celebrating Lynn Bramer. All right. There we go. All right, folks, that's going to be it. Now we're going to be done here. We're going to come back tonight, though. We're going to come back at 9 o'clock. Pugs and Parker proudly present Pillow Talk. That's right. We'll do that. Hold on, guys. Let me get to our song. Our closings. I got to play our closings. Why not? Doesn't matter. I just played WXRT, so there's no way this show is ever going to get monetized. So may as well do a music show now. They're gonna block it. You can tip the show. Yeah, I'll mention that again. Try not to beat that into the ground. You want to help out the show? You want to throw a tip our way? We do 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday, noon to whenever. Try to get you all prepped up on all the things that are happening. Treat me like your bartender. Treat me like your whatever. Thank you to all the folks who have helped so far. We got a long way to go. I guess that's it. All right. Why did I end with the Lynn Bramer? Well, I know why I ended with the Lynn Bramer thing, because I knew that it was going to get me a little choked up and a little bit sad. Prostate cancer, man. 69 years old. Got a beautiful wife. Grown son. And he was Lynn Bramer. I mean, that doesn't get it. You know what? I'll tell you. I said, there's a memory now. I do have a Lynn Bramer memory. So back when I was working in radio and in Chicago, I went to a club to see a band that everybody was talking about. So this is probably 2000, maybe. And funny enough, it was Dallas's own old 97s. It was an old 97s and Bottle Rockets show, which the Bottle Rockets I was a huge fan of. And they were touring with the old 97s, and everybody's like, you got to go see the old 97s. You know where I probably heard that? Lynn Bramer. That's probably where I got an interest in going to see this old 97 show. And I was probably in my mid to late 20s. I was a producer and a sidekick on a big morning radio show there, and there was a lot of like media people that showed up for the show, and right there, I mean, even though he's the morning guy, you know, he had done a morning shift, and now here it is. It's you know, probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's old Lynn Bramer right there in the front row of like the pit of people with his fingers up, jumping up and down. Like I said, I didn't know him, but you know, if you went to concerts and stuff, Lynn was like the older guy. Lynn was like the guy when everybody else was 25. Lynn was the guy that was 45, that was still there. And you know, it's like, oh no, it's okay. Because I don't know if you know this, but that's Lynn Bramer. That's Lynn? Oh, wow. Awesome. No, he's cool. We can't make fun of the old guy because the old guy's actually cooler than we'll ever be. All right. Bye, everybody. I love you. See you tonight. Tip the show if you can. We'll be back tomorrow at noon and again tonight at 9 o'clock for Pugs and Parker. I have got an old guitar that is all